2 or spam a hammer if you think Will is going to win.
Yeah, spam this cannon to root for Buchanan. I don't know what rhymes with Pulliam. We're going to have to figure that one out on the fly, but I have faith in chat to put it together. Over 2,000 people in there. Very glad to have all of you there. Surely one of you can come up with a good rhyme.
You can just spam hammers. That's fine, right?
I mean, I guess if you want to be boring about it.
All right. The chat demands a prediction, so I'll make one.
Where is your prediction, my friend?
It's right there.
In the chat? I'm not going to read that.
No,
okay.
I like made a literal channel prediction to get the hype going.
Looking at Daniel's list, we got 3 Foundation Breaker, 1. I assume the Dead Gone's coming in as well, so he's got a lot of some nice cyber cards as well. But we got to get through game 1 here, so we'll see if Daniel can convert on his advantage being on the play in what we think is a good matchup, or if Will can break serve. And if anyone can, it's Will. He has shown real mastery with this deck and looking to have a trophy, or I don't know if this event has a trophy, but have a nice check, have some pocket change to show that off.
Meanwhile, Daniel's hand looks pretty ideal. Wow, the poll is almost even. You love to see it, I guess?
I know there are lots of Peepers fans, Peepers enjoyers out there in the so maybe that's weighting the prediction here.
Do I want to know what that means either?
Maybe we can ask Will in his winner's interview.
Okay. Or maybe we won't get that chance.
Yeah, this looks like a pretty nice setup here for Daniel in game 1. You're cycling a bunch. Will doesn't have a super fast hand as far as we can tell.
Wow, almost looks like he's playing Death Shadow.
So, Naked Colossal Hammer cast here on turn 1.
Probably indicates a pure Steel Paladin setup for turn 3 or something somewhere.
I think one way that that Hammer can seal game 1 in this matchup is honestly to just have that classic Hammer nut draw, right? But the turn 2 kill is pretty rare. Turn 3 is like quite realistic, but turn 2 is hard, and so having to do that on the draw is much easier said than done.
So the turn 2, for those of you who are at home, is, I believe, a 0-drop, aid. I guess you could throw a drum in there sometimes, but it involves a combination of 0-drop, aid, 2 hammers by turn 2, essentially.
Yeah, that's a lot of moving parts, and it doesn't look like Will has all of those to work with here.
So is he going to play Esper Sentinel with the hopes of mising a Spell Pierce off of the draw off of Esper Sentinel?
It looks that way. Oh no, just Core Outfitter. Okay, so we're making our big thing now. Yeah, attacking for 10. So this is it. I mean, making sure Daniel has third and living end right here, right now.
So I think I like this from Will. Just waiting. I don't think he improves by waiting if this is what his hand does.
This is exactly what you have to do. And if Will was on the play, this hand is a turn 3 kill before Daniel can living end. So you really see that play versus draw difference. Not a player difference, a play versus draw difference. Make itself known there.
There's still some weird scenarios where I think Will can get out of this, but with the Architects of Will, that I think that cuts up a lot of outs.
Yeah, no grief or force negation has shown up yet. So potentially Will could string something together, but he has maybe one turn to do that.
I think it would have to be like, well, there's an Esper Sentinel. Maybe Shadow Spear could actually get him out of this.
Shadow Spear, or yeah, Shadow Spear on something big, or Ginger Brute actually, allowing him to connect.
Alright. That's a lot of power. Let's see, 2. It is a lot of power. So, actually, Will has an Ornithopter and an Esper Sentinel, but not much else. So 3, 3, 3. So it's 14 power? That's not a one-shot, at least.
Oh, and there is Force Negation and Odawara, but no fourth land there. So let's see, we get to counting out
So,
damage.
actually, interestingly, if
14.
Will doesn't block, it is lethal, right? 14 plus 5 is
Yeah, but Vine Outburst
19.
would be lethal in that case with no
Yeah.
blocks.
But he decides not to go for it because it would give Will a card.
Yeah, and if Will has a Spell Pierce, then suddenly you could just lose a game that you had one otherwise. Notably, Will as well does not have a Sagada's Aid. So a hard cast Hammer on his turn could get Force Negationed. And then I guess Hammer could jump in off the Urza Saga, but then we'd need another equip effect at that stage.
I think all games Will win involve drawing an Equipper. It probably needs to be Paladin, otherwise I think you just don't have enough mana to do everything you need. Well, it definitely has to be Paladin because the hammer is already in play, unless if Will has another hammer in hand, right?
Yeah, I mean, it could be Aid if you think you can harness the hammer off the Saga.
I think that one's earmarked for Shadow Spear, probably.
Well, I mean, between, I think with the Inkmoth Nexus, you could stitch together a kill just with the Nexus alone.
Well,
You can
the
reactivate to give it
reality
flying and
is,
then go
let's see.
above. But in practice, I think fourth land plus Odawara would
Okay,
seal the deal here.
so a construct's blocking. Yeah, the life totals are not quite correct. We ended up taking 6 last turn, so we're at 13.
Yeah, so now we're kind of back in the same spot of it wasn't because we didn't attack with everything last turn. We can't really attack with everything this turn because now it's not lethal, whereas it might be closer otherwise. But it took 9, so it's on 10.
Hmm. I feel like
So yeah,
this.
again with the violent outburst left from reserve, it feels like you can.
It feels like we're being a little bit too conservative here, right?
Yeah. And as Chad points out, if you want to avoid the card off the Sentinel, you can just play the Odawara.
Right. I think Dan was hoping to draw a different land that's untapped and doesn't hurt him, but there's not actually that many lands that do that, right?
No, so now just as the board stands, if we get Shadow Spear, we suit that up on the construct. That by itself would represent a big swing. We know, I guess, no Daniel played the Odawara, so he would need to have some other form of interaction, which could just be another violent outburst and step into living end. That would
Yeah,
definitely
but
get the job done.
I think the second outburst might just be unbeatable regardless.
Yeah, I'm just thinking if Will had drawn a Spell Pierce this turn or something, I think he would actually have the tools to get this done.
I think Will basically gave himself out to draw the card he needed, but it just didn't happen.
Okay, so this is happening in response to the Urza Saga trigger going off. So now So the outfit is going to come back. That can pick up the hammer, but that's yeah. Even if you get Shadow Spear and have the land to equip,
Hmm.
is there enough in the air lined up? Yeah, there's 2 curators, right? So that's 8.
Yeah.
Oh, but there's an Ornithopter too, right?
Yeah, but there should be 2 Sentinel triggers on the stack. What happened to Esper Sentinel triggers?
I am not quite sure.
We'll miss them. I guess that's possible.
We'll miss it, and then when all is said and done, we should be seeing Saga going to fetch something, right?
Yeah. Probably Ginger Brute just to block, right? Shadow Spear. Um, Actually, if we have an untapped land,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay,
we
so
can.
this
Okay.
is
Wow.
what we were saying. So now, I this okay, so this is a little perplexing. Yeah, I mean, so regarding the triggers, as Chad pointed out, you play Violent Outburst, the Sentinel triggers go on the stack, and then because of AppNap, the Violent Outburst resolves first, right? So the Cascade trigger. So you get the living end happens, then the Esper Sentinel triggers will resolve. And it looks
I
like that
see.
was kind of acknowledged at first, but then
Got
just
it.
forgot when all was said and done there. Yeah, so Daniel now, I think, needs something else to win this game from a spot where I think if he had just not cast a Valiant Outburst, did, or made any combination of different attacks over those few turns, I think he wins quite easily instead.
I think maybe where it fell apart was if you just attack them one turn, that forces all of the blocks for 19 damage because of the outburst. That was the best turn to do that.
So I guess now what happens in this combat, right? So Daniel attacks, then Will can crack back with the Outfitter, which is a 12-13 because it's shrunk by the Wake of Waves.
Yeah,
So Daniel can triple block.
which does kill it because of this 7/7. Let's
Yeah.
see,
So
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 4 plus.
so that kills it and keeps the Street Wraith around.
Yes.
And then Daniel's still ahead on board, even though Will gained a bunch of life. So I don't know if Will has a good attack here, but
I wonder if
but
Grief
what
and
if
8 is
Will
actually going to matter.
now draws like a Pure Soul Paladin or something, right? He gets to attack, or I'd know it. That would just be lethal on the spot, right? Because he just moves everything to the Ornithopter or the Nexus.
Right.
And so that's where missing those Sentinel triggers really could come up, where like if Will has more draws towards Pure Soul Paladin,
Hmm.
that is a big deal.
Uh, why did. Okay. So,
Yeah, but Red Arrow, you can so with Nexus specifically, you can reactivate to get the thing back, and then otherwise we'll just either attacks with Outfitter and then loads up everything on the top to next turn, or you can just do that turn by turn.
so that block indicates to me another Cascade spell. Okay, this is very weird.
So we've gone through 2 living ends. Has a third one been drawn or pitched to green?
Did Will win that one?
I huh. All the haters and doubters in the chat who said, "Oh, Will, yeah,
Okay, so what actually happened was Daniel was out of living ends because one was pitched to Grief.
okay, okay, yeah, that's that game should not have concluded in quite that way, but we take those, and Will in particular will take those. So, both players long weekend of Magic, not playing
Yep.
at their best, trying as hard as they can, but yeah, Will Seals game one there, and now just needs to win one of these two post-cyborg games to walk away with the title.
Again, the exchange of phones. Sunken Ruins coming out again. So shaving some of the more expensive cyclers in Waker of Waves. And I assume how many Force of Vigors are in the sideboard?
It's 1 Force Figure and 3 Foundation Breaker. So all 4 of those will then probably the Dead Golems as well, I'm assuming. And then on Will's side, as we mentioned, the 1 Dranath Magistrate, 1 Lavinia, and then also has the 4th Spell Pierce to join the 3 copies in the main deck, the 1 Relico Progenitus to make Saga a really live threat, and then I think that will do it in terms of what Will wants to bring in. I know some people turn towards Sanctifier on Veg, but I don't think there are enough black cards that you care about to really justify doing that.
I think Sanctifier is probably tricking yourself, frankly. I'm curious what's coming out. I assume Cauldron Complete comes out because it doesn't actually do anything.
No, although you can imagine board states where, let's say, your Stoneforge Mystic ends up in the graveyard, they get a small living end, you just get Cauldron, and now they don't have good attacks or blocks anymore. So there's that. I wonder how many blacksmith skills stay in or even come in. There was a third one in the sideboard here because you do want to protect your hate card. And also if, knowing that Daniel has additional Foundation Breakers and Force Figures now, there's just more stuff to protect them from.
So the quick look is Sentinel, Cauldron Complete, Giver of Runes came out, which tracks to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one question with Hammer always is how many of the and Ornithopters and so on. Looks like Will is still, I guess, optimizing for speed to some extent by keeping those in the deck.
So you just think the blue mana off Springleaf Drum matters, right?
Yeah, and it's hard to get that early enough, especially on the draw, unless you have.
Right. Let's see. How many lands are in Will's deck? 1, 6, 7, 10. Actually, easier way to check. So, with Will winning game one, I feel like he's actually a favorite in the match now to win.
Yes, just needing to win one of the 2 post-sideboard games. I think that's true even if you think your post-sideboard matchup is bad, and I think it gets a little closer to even now with the cards he's bringing in.
So, I guess I'll introduce a very small amount of math. If you are down a game, you basically have to have a 70% win rate in post-board games to get back to even, essentially. Which is quite a high number. Oof. There's a living end in hand, so very likely that Daniel doesn't want to keep it. And Will's hand doesn't look great to me either. It looked like it was just slow from Will's side. Like it had an equipper, it had the hammer, but it was also like drum, 2-drop, 2-drop. Just kind of a weak hand all around. Architect's Grief, Steam Vents, Ottawa, Brazen Borrower. What land is that?
Oh, that I want to say a basic.
Is it Forest or Island?
Good question. Good question. Doesn't really look like either in the most literal sense, but I guess we will find out.
Oh wait, Will's hand looks excellent to me. It has a Lavinia, which already passes my threshold for keeping.
Yeah, I don't think you have enough hard hate cards that you can pass up on any kind of reasonable.
Well, that Lavinia is not going to be in the hand for very long.
We take it back.
Good grief. So Will's best draw, I think, is like Spell Pierce or Drann's Magistrate by this point.
See what Daniel has left in the tank here. So third land, Brazen Borrower, but this is one of the scenarios you highlighted of the living end deck. If you don't have the first cycler to beget more cyclers, you're just going to spin your tires without doing anything. So doesn't have the Cascade spell, also doesn't have any cyclers to find that Cascade spell or make its living end more relevant.
So a scenario you described is this is a sort of situation where I think Stoneforge for Culture Complete could be a fast enough clock, right?
Yeah, exactly. So now the best it can do is fetch a redundant hammer or shadow spear or something.
Yeah, it just I think this. Oh no! What?
Okay,
Wait.
Cauldron is.
So what got sided out instead? I could have sworn I saw it sided out.
Well, for any Will Pulliam fans, I think they will be very glad that you are wrong. Calder is, I think, the best card he could get here.
Was there just some sleight of hand I didn't see?
Jarvis in absolute shambles right now.
I'm not in shambles. I'm in shock.
He's seething. He's coping. I don't know what else he's doing over here.
I'm not in shambles. I'm just in shock. Let's clarify it, please. But the good thing for Daniel is we have Brazen Borrower, which does cleanly answer the germ.
Trigger. Do you want to pay 1? Yes. Okay. Fair enough.
Second Stoneforge well? Do you have something good?
Sentinel just pings it from 1. He does have something good. He has one of his better sideboard cards in Relic of Progenitus, which right now it doesn't have much good to eat, but that is a fine problem to have. And that Relic can just kind of chill there for the time being until Daniel finds a way to answer it.
Yeah, Brazen Bar is not a particularly effective answer versus Relic of Progenitus.
Okay, Foundation Breaker is a solid draw here. Kind of stopping that Sentinel doing anything and forcing the hand on the Relic.
So I assume you just let it resolve, let it target the Relic, then crack the Relic, right?
Yeah, if you had a...
Whoa!
Interesting.
Huh.
Very interesting.
What does that mean? Well, what does that mean for the plan?
He might just assume Living End is kind of off limits and he has to win through some weird beatdown instead. Like maybe with a Borrower, with a Foundation Breaker, if he draws like a Curator of Mysteries or something. But in those games, the Sentinel isn't doing a ton for Will either.
I feel like that's trying to make this game about damage favors Will an enormous amount.
Hammer is very good at winning games that are about damage, in my experience.
Yes.
There we go. 4/4/5.
Oh!
What up?
Okay, that is a real card.
I wonder if Will doesn't draw anything good this turn, does he just cash in the Relic at some point to try and dig for something? It's got to be
Maybe.
somewhat tempting, right?
Yeah, if you draw Paladin, I think that's a good enough draw on average, right?
If you're a Paladin, you're Stoneforge, um, you're Urza Saga, in fact, as well. And we are actually working our way towards hardcasting Cold Complete. We just need 2 more lands.
Watch the 7th land BC Chrome Coast.
Well, you've manifested that now, Jarvis. We can blame
I
you
know.
when that happens.
I'm causing bad things to happen.
Do you
This
take
is
like
great.
reverse commissions? Like, can I pay you not to curse me?
Uh, I'll accept the money, but I promise nothing.
It seems like you could really extort pretty substantial sums out of people.
Right. So it looks like we might be seeing a chump block just to reduce the size of the curator. Nope, controls that. Tough one for Will. Um,
Yeah, so this is using the lesser known side of the infect mechanic
mhm.
just to shrink the clock here.
Invect
I
is a
guess
good mechanic.
I guess there's also the option of like you shrink the foundation breaker and now the ornithopter can block it indefinitely. That doesn't seem inspiring either.
Yeah, I guess the the hardcast Cauldron complete plan is definitely off the table. I don't think I jinxed it though. Oh,
Ooh,
what's the
Sagada's
present?
aid. Now we know Daniel does have petty theft waiting in the wings, but again, against aid plus a creature plus a hammer, I guess you can petty theft the Sagada's aid in response and just strand the hammer in play.
But this
Will's
works
going to
out
go
well.
for it, and he absolutely should.
Yep.
Okay, so confirming exactly how this works, we'll pick it up and make sure.
So this is with hammer on the stack. Aid will return to hand, and then there will not be an aid trigger.
So I wonder now if you're meant to pop Relic and try to find either, I don't know if Blacksmith Skull is still in the deck, or if you draw another hammer in response.
Looks like that was not part of the plan.
Because right now Daniel is winning on the board, and the borrower is only going to add to that.
Yeah, I think cracking the relic is probably good, but I don't know if Blacksmith's skill is still in the deck.
And now
Are we gonna
Violent
see?
Outburst as combat trick might come into play
Yeah.
again.
Oh gosh. Also, I would say that Will's hand was actually very, very, very good this game, right? He drew a relic, a Lavinia.
The
Like,
Stoneforge was a nice pickup, even though it was
yeah.
kind of answered at the right time.
You know what I'm rooting for? For the hammer to go on Ornithopter and make it who's flying, so Brazen Bar cannot block.
Nice, nice.
How about
Okay,
second Ornithopter?
we've got a whole air force up there.
Well, you know what they say. No matter what the plane, somehow someone figures out how to invent the Ornithopter.
Is that a flavor text, Jarvis?
Well, you tell me. I don't know if you're a flavor text guy.
Don't want any plagiarism going on the broadcast here. So now our 3-3 and our 2-2 rumble into the red zone again. Ornithopter taking him off the team. But Brazen Borrower does not, which, as you highlighted, anything that would put a hammer on something would also remove flying, leaving the borrower unable to block. So that strikes me as a bit of a strange choice. I guess Nexus could threaten to trade off with it, but that is always going to be the case.
Any equippers? Nope. This is a sign of desperation, I think.
There's Saga, which if we'd had a Saga, I guess if it was a card drawn off Relic, we wouldn't have had it last turn regardless. But that's the kind of thing which, if every additional turn really matters, and it seems like Will might end up being like exactly one turn too slow again.
Yep. If you're Daniel, do you attack with everything? Yeah, I think this is good.
Yeah. So again, why is Bora attacking now if it wasn't attacking before?
I mean, I think. Well,
I guess you open up maybe if you draw Force of Vigor, you get to remove both blockers, but
how does Will get out of this? We have to draw. Is there a draw Will could have?
I think if you block, the answer is no. So
Yeah,
the
so I think we
answer,
just have to take all L's to violent outburst killing us, right?
yeah.
Okay, I guess not. Maybe there's some mysterious out that we're not thinking of, right?
So now there's actually, if Will is, I mean, if Will's at 4, he's still dead to violent outburst next turn, pumping exactly the curator. So it's tough.
SCGCon Coast was drawn. I called it.
Why would you do this, Jarvis?
Oh, why would I do this? This is a fantastic question. Why would I cause trouble? By the way, isn't the violent outburst still lethal?
You're a little scoundrel. It sure is. Yeah. This is what I was saying. If Urza Saga could fog, wait, are we?
I think now, like, wait, doesn't
Hold
Shadowsphere pull
on.
him out of this game again?
Hold on a second. So yeah, if there's no interaction, Shadowsphere goes on the construct, which is already a 3/3. Then it's a 4/4. If you make another one, it's a 5.
Yeah. I don't. What?
If
What
mana
is
being
going
tapped,
on?
we're drawing a card.
Wait. Also, Will drew Spell Pierce, so that can protect from the violent outburst. Oh, but there's a Force of Negation. Hmm.
Oh, this turn is going to be painful to watch. Where it seemed like he was going to snatch defeat or snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. Andrew the Spell Pierce seemingly make that more likely until the Force Negation going to team up with that. Wait.
We didn't go for it?
I
What? Do we have Fawn pitching agent?
So now, okay, we get Shadow Spear. Yeah,
That is a big boy.
That's an attack for 5.
5 points is a lot on this board state. Obviously, we know what's going to happen is Daniel's just going to recascade on his turn, and then I think that sort of cleans everything up. Because all Will gets back is an Ornithopter, right?
Yeah, but Will's Graveyard has nothing relevant there. And the Foundation Breaker can help too.
Can we get a hand cam check for Daniel's hand? No, that's definitely a Shardless agent.
Yeah. And now, well, if you're going to do this main phase, why not? Okay, I guess this is to keep up force
No,
negation.
it's to
That makes
keep
sense.
following up. I think this actually does make sense.
Yeah, this is correct now.
Well,
So,
you can't fawn on your turn, but you can fawn on
yeah.
their turn. Will is definitely not thrilled about this because I think he knows that Daniel sort of let this game slip out of his hands.
So after all that, Foundation Breaker kills Shadow Spear. Makes sense.
Yeah, now I think it's truly over.
Yeah, now that I don't know what could plausibly happen to to get Will out of this one, but we get to go to game 3 with Will on the play, so he may like his odds there. And
Yeah, I mean,
thank you to Jim Davis for this gigantic raid. Wow, over 1,000 people it looks like.
yeah,
Welcome
and
to all of you. So in case you are joining the stream here, we are in the finals. SCGCon Charlotte Modern 20K. Will Pulliam trying to win, 12, 13 matches in a row here to complete his amazing underdog run. Facing off against the Livingston player who has just been leading the Swiss since the beginning of Saturday, it feels like, and trying to dominate the finals here as well.
so to put in perspective, I think these players are definitely tired. There's been a lot of Magic played, so it's very likely mistakes will be made. You shouldn't beat them up over it. Of course, like you at home sitting in the armchair, you can be like, "Oh, it's so easy to play perfectly all the time," and the reality is, it actually isn't. And that's my
Yeah,
rant.
no one plays perfectly. The real dividing line is how often do you make mistakes like that, and how do you recover from those mistakes when you make them? So none of us are above reproach in that sense.
Like, I'll put it this way: our recent Pro Tour champion Reed Duke says, "I hope not to make mistakes in a tournament, but I accept the fact that I will," and that is one of the best players in the world. So,
Yeah,
seriously, you all got to lay off.
I think it was Pro Tour champion, former Platinum Pro Steve Rubin, who said that like the way he copes with the inevitability of making mistakes is to accept that it is inevitable and to just give himself some grace. Like, yeah, okay, I will punt, and instead of kicking myself about that every single time, I just accept that as part of the process.
Yep. I do think, comparatively speaking, Will has played a little bit tighter. Just saying that, but both of them are definitely tired, and I think for them to be here, it's a very good accomplishment.
And either way, whoever loses, walking away with a very nice. Not sure if there was some kind of top 4, top split before this point, but yeah, both players can walk away happy with this result, but one of them wants to be just a little bit happier.
Where can we find deck lists? I think they'll be published probably after this event finishes. There's like a button you have to click to make them public.
Yeah, we have the list to the link to the tournament page posted by Anurag, so you can go check out details of the event and then also the precious deck list there as well.
All right. Are you rooting for a
Okay,
turn to kill from the hammer side?
always. And this was like a very solid hand from Will. We have the one
Yeah.
Relic of Progenitus, we have Spell Pierce as a line of defense, also have a nice curve of Sentinel into Symbol Mystic as well. And then on Daniel's side, we have Foundation Breaker, Cascade Spell. Is that Grief on the left?
Yeah, that's like an awkward hand, is how I would put it, right?
Well, on one level, it's pretty appealing, right? You have Foundation Breaker into Cascade Spell, but then you don't have any cyclers. You can kind of expect to draw those, but then how many do you really need? These are the hands with Living End where I don't know if you can mulligan, but you maybe grit your teeth and hope for the best.
But I think that's probably the scenario that you're in right there.
It also actually, with this hand, would not shock me if we see a small Living End early just to bring back, and then buy a few turns that way to build towards a big one.
So I like this from Will. We're just playing it slow. There's no reason to run out Esper Sentinel.
Yeah, don't want to expose the relic just yet. It would be exposed to grief, I suppose, but I think you want to save that one until you can defend it with a pierce or pop it in response to either graveyard and draw a card on the way out.
Or the Saga, huh?
That's a nice one. I think will be uh will decline to run that out early because if that and something else gets force figured, that could be potentially catastrophic. But
Oh, these hand cameras are real nice.
yeah, interesting as well that so we saw Will lead on planes over Sequin Coast, right?
Yeah,
And that took away the option to potentially like play Saga and defend it with Spell Pierce, which I don't think he would have wanted to do anyway, but I'm not sure what the reasoning was on leading on the other land.
yeah, that's kind of interesting. I think there's actually a chance that Will wouldn't even play the Saga there to prevent Force of Vigor blowouts.
Oh, I think he wouldn't. I think this makes more sense on this turn, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm worried for Daniel's sake because the hand we kept, it doesn't have a lot of cyclers. It's very it needs a few things to go right for it to become a truly good hand, I think.
Yeah, I think the nice thing about Living End opposed to the other Cascade deck is you can maybe afford to mulligan a hand that has a Cascade spell or keep one that doesn't because the the way you've built your deck naturally has a bunch of ways to keep cycling through cards and find it.
Yeah, basically I think the hand Daniel kept, if that was a hand from the Rhinos deck, that's like a pretty good hand. Whereas I think this hand is kind of awkward in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So Foundation Breaker just use on turn 2 here to drum. Aiming to slow ball down a little bit, and yeah, so would love to tag that Saga instead. Maybe gonna burn a small Living End now to try and do that, but he's gonna get the bad news running into that Spell Pierce if he does.
The dog is sad about the living end as well.
Her life is fine. She has nothing to complain about.
Fair enough. Oh, another foundation breaker, but that doesn't do much here.
I wonder if is that force negation towards the back of Daniel's hand?
Yeah, but there's no blue card to pair with it, right?
Yeah, I wonder if the goal would be to wait until you have the blue card, or maybe since you have 2 Cascade spells, you cascade this turn and then also next turn.
I do like taking out the Saga here, but I think Will might pull the hammer on Relic this turn. Just casting it, right?
Yeah, so no third land. 2 spell pierces, only 1 blue source, so that is a bottleneck of sorts here. But yeah, I think will play the relic, just hold up Seacon Coast, and then go from there. And the onus then really is on Daniel to make something happen because Calder complete by itself as a 2-turn clock.
Did Will fetch for planes off of that Fledgestran?
It looks like he did. Yeah, so that's another case where
Yeah.
you can see that cutting the other way, right? In a weird long game where you're on 2 life less, and that matters against a bunch of creatures. But so he just goes for
It,
Sentinel instead. Interesting.
yeah, I think it's the 2 life versus the drawing a second spell pierce, right? That's what matters.
Mhm. So we'll see when we get life totals updated. If that fetch brought Daniel down to 7, then this makes some sense as well because Calder plus Stoneforge plus Sentinel, that is 7 right there.
Yes. I
So
think Will was definitely thinking about the damage.
but the issue now is,
Ooh.
let's say Daniel finds a blue card and
Mhm.
then is able to, on Will's turn, ideally before Will can top deck a second blue source, Violent Outburst plus Force Negation, then you really wish you had the relic left in play at that point.
Yeah, I think Daniel's play is forced. You just have to go for it. You can defend from one spell pierce, and if that plains was a Hallowed Fountain,
Yeah. So I guess the nice thing of sorts is the Living End only brings the two. I get, well, the Street Wraith now too. The Foundation Breakers aren't going to do much when they come back in, and Will still now has a pretty stacked hand to try and rebuild with.
mhm.
So this isn't the end of the world, but it's not ideal. Yeah,
So it
if you're going to do this, I think
yeah.
no reason to do it after Will draws instead of on his upkeep.
Okay, so if Will did Will draw a land in that exchange?
I don't know that he did. Yeah, so just Thopter Relic. But now we're kind of out of gas. We have a Paladin, but we don't have third land or a hammer to go along with it.
Yeah, so you based on body language, I know Will knows that that fetch basically cost him this game.
Yeah, I mean, if he goes for Relic instead too, the way he play things, then
hmm
the game goes on, but Will isn't staring down 7 power.
Yeah, the problem with Paladin equip is the Otawara colds that plan, right?
Yeah, so this is it. And Daniel needs to have something quite specific here, which it turns out he does.
Yeah.
The one Force of Vigor or the Odawara or Brazen Borrower. And Will's gonna get the bad news in just a second.
Yes. Just don't mess it up. You need to bounce the Cauldron Complete, not the Ornithopter.
Yep,
Yep.
hold her back to hand. And so now, again, waiting on life totals to be updated, but you could imagine a string of draws that leads to Will winning next turn.
Yeah, if it's only 7 damage, we can just tank a hit. Go to 5. If we draw Hammer and Daniel has nothing that's lethal,
And Will does have the second pierce that he was not able to cast initially. So, okay, that grief is going to clear the way. Make sure there's nothing too scary.
none of the cards in hand, I think, matter very much, right?
No, I guess.
You might take Blacksmith Skill because it's +2/+2 in the Ornithopter.
Sure, I guess Lavinia is a blocker.
It's kind of interesting. Wait, did we not take anything?
No,
So
just
I was
waiting for
thinking,
confirmation. So yeah, Blacksmith skill does hit the bin there, and Daniel now deciding on his attack. I guess if you leave the skill, Will could draw a second copy and just punk you out with with both of
yes,
those.
but if you
Um,
want to play around that, you could leave one blocker back.
yes. But you do that, you shorten the clock a little bit, and then who knows what Will can stitch together.
So I think the best draw for Will is actually Colossus Hammer.
I would agree.
Shadow Spear is at least another turn because you would go to 8. Is it?
That's
No.
Saga. So that's a start. I guess we can cycle Relic now. Would be the
No, I
move.
think you just play the blocker and then cycle Relic end step.
Okay, if we're doing this, are we attacking with Paladin?
Yeah, I think so. Because you just assign, like, you have one blocker, right? You can use Ornithopter to chump, Street Wraith, take 4, go to 1.
The thing is, I don't know how you win the game if you lose the Paladin here. Whereas if, like if Daniel has Violent Outburst, that's what you play around by. I guess maybe the idea is you trade off Lavinia on Foundation Breaker, you put Ornithopter in front of Street Wraith. I don't know. That doesn't seem great either. Yeah, Daniel has what could be a lethal outburst if it comes to that.
Well, so I'm not sure if Daniel doesn't know about that play or not, because the other 2 games
Yeah,
made it kind of unclear.
I wonder. I really do wonder. He's coming in with everything.
Well, this makes me think he knows, right?
I think, and yeah, I mean, a pair of blocks is force. Daniel has what he may or may not know is a lethal outburst. We will find. I think maybe he was reading
Yeah,
the
we
video
will.
to double check if he can cast the outburst and can.
Wait, so is Will not at 3?
I think maybe the life totals got switched. I think yeah, it seems like Will is at 5, Daniel is at 3, and so
Okay,
that makes this difficult now because
sure.
now you can avoid outburst being lethal by offering up a second blocker with the Lavinia.
This is so tense. It's so close. Oh, he knows.
He knows.